Hey, this is Matt in the Man Cave. Guys, it's late night, it's after dark. I had a really good day today. I had an even better Christmas yesterday. It was just totally awesome being with friends and being with family, focusing on what? On the Lordship of Jesus Christ and thanking the Father for His Son, watching the kids open their presents. And guys, that's really what it's all about. Focusing on the Lord, allowing Him to dictate the day, allowing His peace to permeate our being, and just resting in the finished work of Jesus Christ. Hey, today we're going to be in Matthew's writings, okay? Matthew was a what? He was a tax collector. He was hated for his occupation, okay? People didn't like him. Jesus had no problem with Matthew, okay? Jesus said, "Follow me." Okay, and Matthew got up from what he was doing and started following the Christ, the Anointed One. Listen to this text. It's not about Matthew, but it is in the book of Matthew. But it is about a guy who always put his foot in his mouth, okay, who used to cuss, who used to be real ornery, a lot like you and I. And listen to this and see if you understand this verse right out of the middle of a story. Peter answered and said unto him, "Though all men should be offended because of thee, yet will I never be offended." Okay, what is it talking about? Well, it's talking about Jesus, okay, in the Garden of Gethsemane. Jesus is going to be crucified, okay? And Peter is telling Jesus, "Hey, I will never reject you. I will kill 10,000 men. I will get it on, okay? Not gonna happen on my watch, okay?" And there's a little arrogance there on Peter's behalf. There's pride. And Jesus said, "Hey, before morning, Peter, you're going to deny me 3 times. Now watch this very carefully. When Peter said it to Jesus, did he know he wasn't going to keep his vow? No, he didn't. Did he truly believe with zeal? I mean, I can just imagine Peter saying it with so much authority and so much zeal. "Jesus, everyone can go against you. I will never go against you. I will kill every last one. I'll kill every last person on the planet." You see what I'm saying? It's not going to happen. But that's exactly what did happen. And why is that? Because the promise was from a man, and so there was nothing to it. Now watch this. The promise was from Peter as a man. The promise wasn't of God. See, if that promise would have been of God, that vow, it would have taken place. Peter would have never, okay, denied Jesus if it was the will of God for him not. But you have to realize this, that Satan came along, okay, and he starts chit-chatting with Jesus, and Jesus says this to Peter, "Satan has requested to sift you, okay, like wheat." Okay, that's not a good promising thing, because you're going like this, and what's happening? I mean, it's all the rough edges are being taken off the wheat. The chaff, which is all the things that aren't godly in our lives, are flying off, okay? And Peter finds himself, because of what? This story, finds himself at the end of the story being broken, okay? Peter was supposed to be the one, honestly, that the disciples were to look up to, and they thought Peter would never, they probably heard Peter say this, "Peter's not going to deny the Lord. He'll give his life before he denies the Lord." You know what I'm saying? But there's something that God needed to take place in Peter, okay, that Peter wasn't even aware of, okay? There was too much Peter in Peter, okay, and not enough Christ in Peter, okay? So Peter denies the Lord, okay, because the promise that came from him was of man, okay? He vowed it from his strength. He vowed it from his resolve. He vowed it from his perspective, okay? What I want to happen, but it wasn't the promise of God. Watch this, guys. This is where it gets really thick. Not only did Peter deny Jesus, okay, he took an oath. Okay, meaning this, he made a vow that he was telling the truth, okay, in front of a maiden, okay? Basically, he cursed and he took a vow that he was not lying, that he's telling the truth and denying the Christ, denying Jesus, the very person he said, "I'm not going to deny you," where Jesus says, "You're going to deny me 3 times, okay? The things that are of God always come to pass. The things that are of us rarely come to pass. Let me say it again. The things that God establishes, okay, always come to pass. Okay, they're going to happen. Jesus spoke it. It came to pass. The things that we vow, rarely come to pass because here's the thing, we're the guarantor. Friends, you and I can't guarantee anything. And the Bible even says that. It says we don't know what tomorrow holds, but it also says this, allow your yeses to be yes and your nos to be nos. And it says this, do not make vows. Because you're making a vow thinking you will be able to what? Fulfill the vow. But God's saying this, only person who really can make a vow is me, because I know what tomorrow holds. You don't get in a habit of doing vows, okay? God just says, simply say, yes, I'll try. Meaning if someone said, hey, Matt, can you help me this weekend? I'll try. I can't guarantee it. Or no. See what I'm saying? There's no middle ground. Okay, I promise I'm going to do this. That's a vow. You don't do this. You know what I'm saying? No, you can't do that. But that's not where I'm going here. Where I'm going is this. The things that we plan oftentimes don't come out to anything. Have you ever noticed that? I mean, your wife knows that about you because you say, hey, I'm going to clean the garage Saturday. I promise, I promise, I promise, I promise. Do you clean the garage Saturday? No, something else happened. You know what I'm saying? The car broke down or a family member needs help or something, you were called into work, okay? Okay, you understand why you don't do vows? You don't do them. I mean, you literally don't do them. But again, I'm going somewhere different than where you're thinking I'm going. Now, guys, watch this very carefully. Charles H. Spurgeon talks about this text. He says, on man's word, hang only what it will bear, meaning you're only as good as your word. And you may have every intent of fulfilling your word, okay, but not be able to do it. But Charles H. Spurgeon goes on to say this, on the promise of God, hang time and eternity, this world and the next, thy all and all that thy beloved ones have believed. It's all of God. See, when God promises something, it's a done deal. Okay, and you're like, man, okay, I understand. My word, I'm not to vow, exactly, okay? And oftentimes I have vowed and I wasn't able to keep my vow. Yeah, an example in the Bible would be what? Peter. And we know from this story that Peter, he really, when he spoke that, believed in his heart of hearts that he was going to fulfill the vow, okay? He really did. But whatever God promises and whatever God takes a hold of, okay, becomes a done deal. The promises of God are sure and steadfast. And again, you may think I'm going one way, but now let's switch gears, okay? We're going a different direction. We're coming again up to the new year, are we not? We're about 6 days away from what? January 1st, okay? There are things that you want God to do in your life. We talked about this last night. Are there not? Yes. Okay. We talked about 3 different areas. Okay. Financial. Okay. Health. Okay. And we also talked about our spiritual lives. Okay. Those are the 3 main areas. Are there more areas than them? Yes. Are there other things that you would like God to do in your life that are outside of those 3 areas? Yes. Okay. Now, how many of you, okay, would like to pay off all your debts in this beginning year? You're like, yeah, man. How many, if you have a house, would like to pay it off? How many of you would like a new car? How many of you, something's wrong with your body, you'd like God to heal you? How many of you see what I'm saying? We could go on and on. How many of you would like to draw closer to God? Every hand should be going up. We would all like to be what? Closer to God, build that relationship. We'd like our debts paid off. We'd like to be healthy. We'd like to lose 30 or 40 pounds, okay? But in and of ourselves, we're like Peter. Okay, these are just thoughts that go through our head. We may be sitting on the couch watching football, okay, eating chicken wings and chicken fingers, okay, and eating Doritos and swigging back the Coke, okay, and then on top of the what? The TV stand, we can see all the bills, okay, and so we're fat, we're seeing our bills, we're in debt, okay, and the Bible, we can see it also over there, okay, with magazines on it, and it's full of dust, okay, so there's things that we would like to do in our minds, but they're not going to transpire in and of our own flesh. Okay, because we can vow to do it, and we've already vowed, have we not? Well, you and I have all. We've heard a sermon, and we're like, you know, I need to do that. I need to do that. Yeah. And you know, and then we say this to our wives. You know what? You're right. We got to get this debt thing taken care of, or it's this, or I know, honey. I promised we were going to walk yesterday and we are going to go to the gym and I'm just really tired today, okay? So in and of ourselves, we don't have the strength to do any of the things that we want to do. And if we do, we start, but we quit. We quit along the way and come next year, this time, all the goals that you went over in your mind, 95% of them haven't even taken place. Okay, you're going to be in the same spot you are a year from today doing the same exact things. Why is that? Because you haven't committed them to the Lord. And you're like, yeah, Matt, that's the truth. Why is that? Because it's all your stuff. It's all the things, okay? But what you need to do is you need to jump on God's page with Him. And one way to do that, okay, is to dedicate the year to the Lordship of Jesus Christ and write the things down on paper specifically that you want God to do in your life. How much debt are you in? Write the exact amount. How much savings do you have? None. How much would you like to have? Put it on paper. Ask God to bless it. Ask God to speak a word over it. Ask Him to lead you what He would like to do in your life in the coming year. And write the stuff down. And be bold. We're not talking about a pet God, we're talking about the living God who has no beginning and no ending. They call Him the Alpha, the Omega, the great I am. I can do anything. Okay? And yet we are trying to get things done in our own resolve, in our own strength, just like Peter, mustering up, okay, the words to come out of his mouth to speak to Jesus, to say, I will never deny you. And yes, less than 24 hours later, Peter was denying Him. On top of denying Him, he vowed, he cussed and made a vow, okay, that he doesn't know the man. You see what I'm saying? Get out of here. I mean, that's who he is, okay? But that's just like our lives. Peter, we're not picking on Peter. Let's pick on ourselves, okay? Year after year after year, you and I have goals. Year after year after year, we have things that we want to do, and we never do them. They never take place, okay? They're just imaginations. They're just thoughts until you give them to God, until you put them on a piece of paper, okay? Friends, by the beginning of New Year's Eve, you ought to have about 20 sheets of paper of all the things you would like God to do in your life. And you ought to cherish those pieces of paper, and you ought to pray over those pieces of paper and dedicate them. Lord, here's what I'd like you to do in my financial world. Here's what I would like to look like, okay, within a few months, 3 months, 6 months, okay? Here's the weight I would like to lose. Here's what I'd like you to do with me, spiritually speaking. I'd like to do this. I'd like to memorize X amount of verses. I'd like to dedicate a certain amount of time for you during the day, throughout the day. I'd like to be involved in this. I'd like to do this. I'd like to be able to go above and beyond, not only pay my debts, but able to give tons of money away, okay? I'd like to do this and this and this and this and this and this and shove it all at the Lord. Some of those things, okay, He's going to say, take that off the list. That's no good. Okay? Be willing to do it. Okay? Be willing to adjust and adapt to overcome. Be willing to get your eraser out and think, okay, God's not into this thing that I wanted. Erase it, okay? But the things that He commits to, they're going to happen. So, see, because if you're doing it, nothing takes place. How many people do not even write down their goals and write down what they would like God to do in their life? How hard is it? Okay, if you were guaranteed, all God has to say is, yes, I'll do that for you because that's my will. Yes, I want that for you. Yes, yes. The answer is yes. How many times are we missing the mark because we haven't committed it to the Lord? Guys, let me share this with you. Do you know why it works so well? Because you're safeguarding God's glory. And you're like, what are you talking about? Let's say something happens, okay, by a fluke, and something that you really wanted to happen in this life did. And you know what you did? You gave yourself a pat on the back. Oh, God did it, but you decided to take credit for what He allowed in your life and what He did in your life, and you gave yourself a pat on the back as if you did it, okay? Friends, a lot of times that's exactly what we're doing. But when you put something on paper, and you pray it to God, and you commit it to God, and you continue to put those pieces of paper before God day after day, after day after day, day after day after day, okay, in and throughout the year, guess what? He knows who's getting the glory. See, basically what you're saying is, Lord, I can't do these things. These are the things that I've wanted to do for a long time. Okay, but I'm not able to do them. And they're so beyond anything I could even think or imagine. Okay, I can't even imagine not having a mortgage. I can't even imagine having a new car. I can't even imagine really being close to you and what that would feel like and the peace that I would be enjoying. Okay, and what you would do through me to help other people. I can't imagine actually being able to tithe and do alms and help other people financially. I mean, I can't imagine any of these things, but you put it on paper and you've committed them to the Lord and you're praying over them, and and those pieces of paper, guess what? Throughout the year, guess what happens, guys? You write the word next to the line, answered. 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 Oh my, and about halfway through the year, you start looking at this mountain that could not be moved. But yet it's being moved daily by God Almighty. And you never thought you were going to get the promotion at work. But because you committed your finances to God, and you apologize for not tithing, and you apologize for being in debt, and you apologize for not being able to give to family members who needed it, you know what I'm saying? Guess what? God decided to move the hearts of kings and rulers, and you got the promotion because He knows you need more money. And not only that, He opened this opportunity here. And not only that, He got you a membership to a gym through the new job that you got. And before long, answered. And by the end of the year, guess what? You'll see that the majority of the things that were what? On that piece of paper that were dedicated to the Lord, that God said, yes, that's my will for you. It's a done deal. Guys, I want to ask a favor from you. And you're like, Matt, anything. You know what I'm saying? Watch the Man Cave. You know what I'm saying? I'm supporting you on Patreon. Yeah, what can I do for you? I need you to send me a blank check with your signature on it. And you're like, why, Matt? I'm going to write a check for $10 million. And you're like, well, Matt, let me tell you, if you take my check and fill in $10 million, 100s, and it's going to bounce. I want you to know, Matt, here's the thing, I don't have $10 million in the bank. I don't either. I really don't have $10 million. And you're like, Matt, where are you going? What if you got a check, okay, and it was signed Jesus Christ, Lord of Lords, in the mail, and it was blank, and you could put any amount in there? Do you think that check could ever bounce? No. If God had a bank account and He wrote me a check, it's not going to bounce. Guys, where have you been drawing your resources from? From your bank account? From this? Are you likened unto Peter? Or have you been drawing from the resources of heaven, where it's unlimited? Listen to Charles H. Spurgeon on this exact topic. This volume is a checkbook for believers. And this page is meant as a warning as to what bank they draw upon and whose signature they accept. Rely upon Jesus without limit. Trust not thyself, nor any born of woman, beyond due bounds, but trust thou only wholeheartedly the Lord. And I know that's a little wordy, and we don't talk like that today. And yes, Charles H. Spurgeon, which was the prince of preachers, okay, that didn't mince words, and he didn't back down in the pulpit, and he was in people's faces, and he suffered greatly for it. He's saying this, okay? Don't trust in flesh and blood. Trust in God, okay? Give the things over to God. Get God involved in your life. See, God's wanting you to take withdrawals, okay? And you've always been able to do it. But most people haven't done it. You know what I'm saying? And I'm not just talking about, God, give me money, because I don't trust you and I want to rely on the money as my pet God. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about you lining up, okay, your goals with the goals that God has for you. Do you have any idea what God would like to do in your life? I mean, honestly, have you thought about it? Have you asked Him, Lord, what would you like me to do this year? What goals do you want to set for me? Okay, what do you want me to commit back to you? Because whatever God joins in is going to happen, okay? Wherever God leads, God provides. So when you're praying to God and say, God, what do you want to do with my life? We're so, you know what I'm saying? There's a song out, It's My Life. Basically, it's saying this, it's all about me, my will, my wants, my desires. You know what I'm saying? Whatever makes this feel good, but that's the opposite of God. Why don't we go to God and say, God, what do you want to do this year in my life? What do you want to do through me? And what do you want to do for me? And what do I need to pray back to you? And what do I need to write down on paper and commit to you, okay? And what will you promise? I mean, He's already promised so many things in this Bible, but He will go up and over the top, okay? As you commit those things to Him, okay? And you say, Lord, this is your will according to your word. And I believe I'm lining up with your will. And I would like you to honor what you said in your word. And He always will honor what He's spoken because that is His Son. That's the Logos, okay? But we're trying to withdraw from the bank of Matt in the man cave, or the bank of Joe, okay, in the garage, or Sally, or Larry, or Fred, or Nick, or Trey. We're pulling from our own resources rather than pulling from our heavenly resource, which has no ending and no beginning, okay, and has no limit. I got a pre-approved offer the other day. You're like, Matt, you got to be kidding. No, it's pre-approved. It was an American Express Platinum card, okay? But there's only one problem. And you're like, Matt, what's the problem? You're pre-approved. Did you go for it? No, there's an annual fee. And you're like, I hate the annual fees. Matt, but it's platinum. There's no limit on platinum. You're right. It's $1,000 a year to have that card in my wallet. I'm not paying $1,000, okay? But there's no limit to how much I can use on that card. I just have to be able to pay it off. So yes, I could use that card, okay, because they're going to bill me for the $1,000, and in between the time that they billed me and I charged $1 million or whatever, okay, yeah, there's going to be a disconnect. There's going to be junction. There would be sin involved in that. I don't want to go there. I don't want to do it. It's not wise for me. But guys, God has no limits. Nothing is restraining God. Okay, there's a lot restraining you. Your flesh restrains you, your occupation, your knowledge. You see what I'm saying? But if God be for you, who can be against you? If God wants something to happen in your life, are you telling me that it won't happen in your life? I'm saying that it will. I'm saying stop vowing to man. Stop vowing to what you're going to do, what you think you can accomplish, and start getting on the page with what God wants to do in your life already. And ask Him, Lord, what do you want to do in my life in this new year? How can I impact the nations? How can I do this and this and this? And as God leads you, write the things down, pray about them, share it with other people that are godly men. Have them pray over it. I want you to get serious about how God can use you right where you're at, okay? Stop thinking small. Get out of the box, okay? He's God. He's your Heavenly Father. He gave His Son for you. He gave His Spirit for you. He wants to do something new in your life in this beginning year. Will you let Him? Will you get on the page with Him? Would you just get out 10 pieces of paper and pray, Lord, what would you have me to write down? The things that matter to you, put them down first. The things that you want to lose, do the things that you know, okay? And He'll add to it and He'll take away from it. And then eventually you're going to get to the place where you're going to love those sheets of paper, because you've committed them to God and you watch what He does. Friends, God has a will and a purpose and a plan for your life. You've heard this many, many times. You've read Jeremiah 29:11. There's so many scriptures that talk about God's plan for you. He really does have a plan for you. It's more than just reading this. It's believing this and praying to God. God, you say you have a plan and a purpose. What is it? And I think I'm going to like it because you chose it for me. And it's going to be good because it's not for harm. It's going to benefit me. It's to bless me. And when we start coming to God on those terms and conditions, not in an arrogance way, but on a God, you said, I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord. Plans to prosper you and not to harm you, plans to give you a hope and a future. Friends, how about this next year blows all your expectations of everything apart? Because God was God of your life. And it was no longer you. It was no longer Peter. It was no longer you vowing or you thinking, I would like this to happen. This would be neat if it happened, which none of the stuff ever does happen. But the things that God speaks, like Jesus in our story, they always happen. Hope this helped you out. This is Matt, late night in the Man Cave, saying this. I'll see you tomorrow.